Good morning, I'm Chris Fox. Welcome to day 4 of the 21-day novel challenge. So far this has been an absolute blast. I'm having a lot of fun with these videos, and I'm on track with my word count, which is great news. So today I wanted to focus on the people that have been shadowing the challenge. There's quite a few of you, more so than I would have expected. And of those people, one person has risen above the rest. It's a friend of mine, a guy by the name of Kevin McLaughlin. And Kevin is documenting the journey. I will have a link to his blog in the notes on this video so you can go take a peek. He's the only person I've seen so far is keeping up with my word count. But what's interesting is Kevin has a very different methodology than I do. So Kevin believes that editing as you go is the way to go. Kevin put out a blog post that is entitled 21-Day Novel Day 3 and the Myth of the First Draft. And basically what that is saying is that you should be editing as you go, because if you don't edit as you go, it's a mistake. And I'll let you read the article and decide if you think that methodology has some weight, but it's definitely the opposite of what I'm saying. So I'll be putting up a blog post to kind of counter Kevin's and explain my point of view, and the title of mine is going to be Right or Right Not. Okay, this is going to get edited out, obviously. The title of that post is Right or Right Not, There Is No Edit. There's some really compelling neurological reasons on why you should power through your first draft, and I realize that doesn't work for everybody. It's important for you to use a writing style that works for you. But if you do force yourself to carry through an entire draft and get those words down, if you resist going back and editing while you are writing, you guarantee that you're going to finish that first draft. And for so many people, stopping is a huge trap, because if you stop and you edit one paragraph, now you're editing a second paragraph, and before you know it, instead of writing 5 new scenes, you ended up editing only 1. And that's why I don't allow it in my methodology that you'll see in 5,000 words per hour. Whichever methodology you choose is ultimately up to you, but you're going to see, I think, during the last week of editing, why I do what I do and how my whole process works for me. So as part of throwing the gauntlet down to Kevin, and I hope I get a response from Kevin on this, I'm going to release my entire first act unedited. So I'm just going to create an ebook, which is going to go out to mailing list subscribers. You'll get to read about the first 20,000 words of this novel completely unedited. Every typo is there. And what I suspect you will see is, wow, this draft is pretty clean for the fact that I just wrote this straight through and didn't go through. You'll also have the ability to compare that draft to the final draft that I release. So you'll see what changes when I edit it and why I edit the way that I do. In any case, that's going to go out to you guys probably tomorrow morning. There'll be a link in the next email. And I love to see what you think of the first 20,000 words. Okay, enough of me rambling. Let's go ahead and get into the challenge itself. We're going to start with a screen cap showing what I did yesterday to flesh out the outline. Okay, so yesterday's recap. So I already went over the fact that I had quite a few sprints that were shorter in yesterday's video, and you can see that I topped out at 15,000 words, as is mentioned there. What I didn't mention is that my words per hour is actually going up a little bit. You see that I'm almost up to 3,500 words per hour, and the further into the novel, the more that's probably going to creep up. I'm hoping to be at 4,000 by the time I get to the end, but we'll see if that's possible. I recapped the work that I did in the chapters yesterday, so I'm just going to start on the first new chapter today. So the first chapter I'll be writing is Ruins. Then we're going to work into VI, Hannon's Fight, Slugfest, What Now, and Old Flame. If I get further than that, wonderful, but it's certainly not necessary. You'll also notice that there are quite a few more chapters in this list, that this has grown considerably, and that's because yesterday I started in the first chapter I hadn't written, Ruins, and I went through each of these chapters, looked at what I was trying to accomplish, and started breaking it up into more scenes. The last one that I got to yesterday was Here Kitty Kitty, so I'll probably today finish the rest of this, and you'll see this area down here is going to expand into 5 or 10 more chapters. It'll be much, much longer. And then on Friday, I will probably go through Act 3 and do the same thing. And part of the reason I'm doing that is because I want to know more about the ending of the book, because the more you know about that, the easier it is to write the middle. And the other part of that is I'm realizing that if I'm not careful, this book is going to be much, much shorter than I want it to be. So I'm being very careful to add in every one of my major plot arcs and every part of that stuff so that it's going to hit the length that I originally was after. If it is shorter, if maybe it's 55 or 60,000 words instead of the 70 that I was going for, that's not a crisis. I do believe that a story should be as long as it needs to be and no longer, but I would like to make sure that it's fleshed out in every way that it can be. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. It is 7:24 a.m., so by 7:30 I'll be knee-deep into my first sprint. That means that by 8:30 or 9 o'clock, I should have at least 3 sprints done, and then we'll have at least 3,000 words down, which will get me a great start to my day. I may finish as early as 10 o'clock. So wish me luck. Okay, so recap for day 4. I have finished my sprints. It is now 10:55 a.m., so a little before 11 o'clock. I cranked out about 5,500 words. Really loved what I was writing and had a great time doing it. So the lesson here is pretty clear. On the days when I have some sort of interruption in the morning, be it a mastermind group or a podcast recording or whatever else I've got set up, it derails my writing for the rest of the day. So if I want to do this as seamlessly and naturally as I can, it means clearing my mornings and only doing writing in the mornings and making sure that anything else that I schedule is going to happen later in the day. So I find that a very interesting lesson. I'm pretty new with this self-employed thing, and it's interesting how it has changed my routine. Once upon a time, my writing was always done when I was riding the bus into the city, so it would be about an hour and a half commute, and I would do my writing sprints on a laptop on the bus. So I didn't have anything else really to do. I mean, I suppose I could have read or listened to an audiobook, but it was really easy for me to unplug and do those sprints, and because I always had that commute, there was no interruption. So I'm having to restructure a little bit now that my routine is different, but yeah, mornings are king. I absolutely feel that way. Anyway, enough of me prostetalizing, is that a word? We are going to go over the recap of today's words, so I will show you the screen cap now. As you can see, I finished up at 20,449 words, which means that I wrote a little over 5,400 words today, which is great. I could keep pushing it, but I'm liking the pace that I'm keeping, and so I'm not going to. We're down to 14 hours until project completion, and I suspect that very soon that'll drop to 13 if I do just a few hundred more words. For our stats, you see that my words per hour is actually now up to 3,500, so it crept up a little bit today. Part of that is because I was so excited about these scenes, and part of it was because I didn't have as many interruptions. I wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sprints. All 7 of those sprints were great, were done quickly, and they happened much closer to each other, so there were fewer breaks between those sprints than I took on previous days, and I think I'm going to try and do more of that in the future. As far as the file itself, we started with Ruins, which as you can see is now fleshed out, Hanon's Fight, VI, Slugfest, Escape, What Now, and then I finished up with Old Flame. So quite a few chapters done. The novel is almost a third of where it needs to be at completion, but if you look at this, we are over halfway through what I have outlined. So it's becoming more important for me to extend this. And I do want to talk just for a minute about one of the plot arcs that I'm dropping the ball on and will need to go back and fix. So one of these major plot arcs is the Admiralty. Admirals in the OFI have been implanted and are working actively against humanity, and I've got that coming to light through the plot. So I have a character who's sort of got some insight into that. Her name is Catherine. And Catherine, I decided I'm going to drop here. So I just added a placeholder for this chapter. It hasn't been written yet, but it's going to happen in Act 1. And I'm going to sprinkle more of her point of view chapters throughout the book, both because it'll increase the length and because it'll give that plot arc that I feel like I'm missing currently. We're not really seeing that there's something sinister going on and that the Void Wraith have somehow put agents into various governments. So I think working that into the plot will strengthen it. So you're going to see more of that happen. So today I will go ahead and finish up these chapters here, just break them up as much as I can, put more detail in, and I'll start doing more of Act 3. So tomorrow, when we show this file, it should be much, much longer than it is today. That's pretty much the extent of what I got done on day 4. Still on target for my words, still having a blast, so something's going right here. I will get back to you tomorrow morning with day 5. Wish me luck.